Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Integrity Racing Show. I'm your host, Todd Thomas. We're actually joined tonight by Jacob Fife, league owner and administrator, as usual here on our Tuesday night programming. And then our special guest tonight is Mr. Matthew Wright, a regular on the Truck Series and pretty dominating performance throughout the regular season of the Truck Series as well. So we'll get to know Matt Wright a little bit, and then we're going to update everybody on the week's action on the road courses this past Monday night. We were at Watkins Glen. We'll update you on the results from that race, and then we'll also discuss tonight's race that just finished up at Mosport. We also have a little bit of league news about the coming week as the truck has wrapped up its regular season, so they have an off week. We'll talk to you a little bit about what we have planned for that, so stick around, and that'll be definitely something you'll enjoy. But first and foremost, we do have our guest, Matt Wright, here is with us tonight. Matt, we want to thank you for joining us. Let's start off with just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you got into simulation racing.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. Yeah, I mean, I've been sim racing since about age 7 or 8. Started with the original NASCAR racing games, and eventually led me here to iRacing and Integrity Racing League.
All right, and a lot of people might not know you've got a pretty extensive history in terms of your sim racing that's actually become a part of, you got to experience something real life with a real life racing experience. Give everybody a little bit of a run shot of what that looked like and how you got involved with that.
Yeah, Sony and Nissan put this really cool opportunity together from Gran Turismo, where they took 32 people from the United States and to New York City, and then 16 of us got to go over to England at Silverstone Speedway, where one of us would eventually get a contract to race with Nissan.
All right, so tell us a little bit about what that experience looked like from your perspective. How much time did you have to devote for it? How competitive was it to actually qualify for that? And then you actually made the final 16, I think you said in your 4th season in pre-show. So what was it like once you finally made that Sweet 16 as it is and actually got to fly over to England and take part in that?
Yeah, I mean, qualifying I put in probably close to 100 hours trying to get into the top 16, top 32. And then over in England was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Got to drive some amazing cars, competitors, and it was an awesome opportunity, honestly.
All right, tell us a little bit about some of the cars you got to drive. That's definitely a really cool experience.
So we got to drive Nissan 370Z. We got GTR, and then a Caterham and Ford 2000.
All right. And as far as sim racing back here in the Integrity Racing League, you've been a pretty solid competitor up towards the front of the pack for much of the season. How'd you get involved with the Integrity Racing League, and what other maybe major leagues are you involved in, or major opportunities that you take part in a lot on the iRacing service?
The Integrity League is the only league I'm a part of right now. Honestly, got started early when I think it first started because of a couple teammates, and won my first race in the league, and been a member on and off since then.
All right, so that's a few minutes to try to get to know Matt Wright, kind of a newcomer to the league that hasn't been around all that long. So I always like to highlight new members, and thanks to Matt for joining us for the league. But let's go ahead and transition to the Cup Series, who ran at Watkins Glen last night. And let's go ahead and get the results up and get talking about the Watkins Glen race that was last night. And it's Caleb Eisenhower getting, I believe, his first win of the season. I might actually be wrong on that. Jacob, you can correct me on that if I'm wrong. Okay, so Caleb gets his first win of the season, and I was actually very happy for Caleb. I even popped into the team chat for him last night and told him I was kind of rooting for him because I know he's been wanting that first win for a while. So leading a race high 25 laps to get his first victory. So congratulations to Caleb. A big win for him, I know. Jacob Fife finishes on his tail about a second and a half back in second. Colton Landis was charging hard at the end, and he finishes third. Guillermo Alvarez, a strong finish there in fourth after Adam de Blasio had some last lap troubles. with Nick Ward, who was able to steal the 5th spot away from him. And then congratulations to Adam de Blasio and Just for Fun Racing getting their first ever pole award. So congratulations to Adam for the pole and leading 16 laps on the night. But it's a good road course race. It's always nice to go road course racing with the boys on a Monday night. Jacob, you're still looking for your first win of the year, but you had a chance last night. But it looked like Caleb just proved a little bit too much there at the end of the race.
Yeah, I said it in an interview on the broadcast last night. Caleb's extremely talented, so I knew it was going to take quite the effort to get around him to begin with. My real strategy was, and it worked on Adam, as he was the other guy during the first half of the race who we were battling with up at the top 3, was to try to short pit Caleb and by maybe a lap or 2 and kind of leapfrog both of those guys and then hold them off. I thought we were comparable through most of the race, but when I was getting ready to pit, Caleb ducked in front of me and kind of lost my advantage. I was hoping to get there, and we stayed neck and neck there for a few laps before he started to pull away. I made a couple mistakes. The tires started to go, stuff like that, and he did a great job. So he much deserves to win last night. I was hoping to get there, but fell just a little short. Luckily, the laps ran out. Otherwise, Colton would have blown my doors off after a couple more laps. But congratulations to on Caleb on getting the win that locks him into the chase for this year, and he'll be a stout contender as we move forward in the chase races.
All right, so let's actually go ahead and recap the rest of the top 10 there and give everybody their deal. Again, we talked about Adam de Blasio finishing in 6th. Lance Gentles gets a strong run to finish in 7th. William Dunn finishes 8th. Eric de Blasio, another top 10 in 9th. And Cody Smith's going to round out your top 10 in the 10th spot. Doesn't shake up the chase standings all that much. Obviously, Caleb Eisenhower locks himself in should he make the minimum number of races with the race win. But Caleb, as far as I know, was in pretty good points position anyway, so doesn't make that much of a dent into the chase standings. Jacob Fife, 116 points to the good, the first driver in on points. Jay Heisman's 114 points to the good. Josh Campbell, Cody Smith, Eric de Blasio, and James Hudson looking pretty strong. And we start to see a little bit of a separation there between the 16th and 17th position after Greg Trigo has a little bit of a hard run last night and allows Nick Cherbuck to jump out to a 22-point lead. But you do have pretty strong drivers like Colton Landis, who's 26 points out. And could definitely make up some ground here at the end. Jacob, how do you look when you look at that top 16? Do you think those 16 are probably in pretty safe position, or do you think somebody outside that top 16 is going to hop up and maybe either steal a win or points their way in?
It's really hard to say. I think if you look at the top 16 right now, I think it's a solid group. I think Trago is really consistent, so he has the potential to get back in there. If I'm not mistaken, and I might be saying something out of turn here, so Colton can catch me on it later. But if I'm not mistaken, Colton is going to college soon, so he might not be able to make some of the races as we get closer to the chase. But if I'm looking at Miller, who I don't know if he was there last night or not, but I think he has a strong enough car to get in there, and there's still a few races to go. So it's going to be a tight battle. I think if people are able to jump up there and win a race, that changes complexity of everything. You go from, a guy who's, if you knock Nick down one spot, then there's only a point separating the two guys in front of them. So, it's still a long way to go. But I think the guys who are in the top 16 right now are certainly talented enough to stay there.
All right, so let's actually, we haven't done an update on the team challenge standings in quite a while, and we want to make sure we give everybody their due and not ignore the fact that Lockdown Orange, as they did last year, is just kicking everybody's butts with a 63-point lead. 666 Motorsports is actually leapfrogged up to second. 2 to Green Motorsports stands there in third. From the Rear Racing is in fourth, and then Integrity Racing Team finishes out the top 5. So looks like another dominating performance by Lockdown Racing this year. They actually had to split up into 2 teams, but Lockdown Racing Orange with a 63-point dominating lead as we head towards the end of the regular season. This has been updated for the Watkins Glen race. Finally, the trucks were at Mosport just recently, just finished up about a half hour ago. Let's go ahead and update everybody on the race that was at Mosport, a fun race. Again, it's always good to go road course racing with everybody here in the Integrity Racing League. Congratulations to Nick Ward for a pretty solid win there, competing with his teammate Zach Novak, for much of the race, and Nick was able to pull away on some older tires and get a pretty good win there. In pretty dominating fashion, leading a race high 23 laps. Zach Novak, as I said, raced hard and finished second. Didn't even qualify, so Zach came back from, I think, 13th starting position to finish second. Maxime Thuriot, another strong, consistent, very fast, quiet night for Maxime to finish third and get another podium. William Dunn finishes fourth. Jacob Fife rounds out the top five, despite multiple run-ins with a certain driver on the track. Brandon Six finishes sixth. That's convenient. Brandon Six will finish sixth. Cody Smith finishes seventh. Guillermo Alvarez eighth. Lance Gentles ninth. And Joseph Ties finishes out the top 10. And for maybe the first time all season, it looks like maybe Matt Wright had a little bit of trouble. Matt, you've had about 4 race wins this year, but it looks like with a 17th place finish, maybe things just didn't go your way tonight. Matt, you there? And we seem to have lost Matt, but as we update the rest of the standings, Joseph Ties finishes 10th. I finished 11th. James Hudson 12th. Alan Roll 13th. And Christopher Sitzler finishes 14th. But Jacob, again, a fun night here at Mosport. It was a different track. A lot of people were buying the track 10, 15 minutes before the race. But it seems like everybody had a really good time and had a positive experience tonight.
Yeah, it's a really fun racetrack. I enjoy racing there. We did it, I want to say, well, if you jump a couple years when we didn't run the trucks, a couple seasons ago when we used to run the trucks, we ran there once. And, it's like I said, it's a fun racetrack. It takes a little bit to get used to, as some of our drivers had a little bit more difficulty than others tonight getting a hold of the track. But like I said, Nick did a great job. I think him and Zach had a very hard battle over the top spot for a certain amount of laps, and I think Novak ended up having an issue or spun. I had a couple issues of my own. Me and Max were having a great battle, actually, for third as well, that I was looking forward to until some unfortunate circumstances, and I'll rectify those in a few weeks when I go see the current driver. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, from there, like I said, I think it was a pretty good race for the most part, and looking forward to, like I said, wrapping up the regular season tonight, and moving forward to the chase races here we'll have to determine the champion for the All-In Truck Series.
All right, and speaking of the chase for the All-In Truck Series, let's go ahead and update everybody on the 10 drivers that have advanced to the truck playoffs. James Hudson, Guillermo Alvarez, Jacob Fife, Lance Gentles, Matthew Wright, Brandon Six, Greg Trigo, all won races in the regular season to lock themselves in. And then congratulations to Randy Fash, who, despite not being there tonight, points his way in. That's a very good accomplishment for Uncle Fash, so we're proud of him making the chase. Cody Smith makes the chase as well, and then a league administrator, or not administrator, but league admin. Actually, yeah, administrator is the right word there. Josh Buckley finishes 10th. So, Jacob, let everybody know what the playoff format, since it is a little bit, it's as far as I know, it's pretty similar to what the Cup Series did last year. Not necessarily what the Cup Series is doing this year, but I might be mistaken. So let everybody know kind of what the rough format for the All-In Truck Series chase format is.
Yeah, it's the same but different. Basically what we're doing is the 10 guys that you just showed there will be in the championship hunt. So we'll adjust the points around here in the next day or two to reflect that. As you look at the standings there, Matthew Wright has 4 wins, so he'll have a little bit of advantage over the other guys who have 1 win, and then obviously the guys with 1 win will have a 3-point advantage over Randy, Cody, and Joshua, who didn't get any wins during the regular season. So basically, there'll be 3 race segments like the Cup Series, and we'll be eliminating 2 drivers after each 3-race segment. It's a 10-race series. 4 drivers will end up at Homestead, just like the Cup Series, and then from that point, it's basically identical to the Cup Series, and we'll be racing for a champion to see who it gets crowned the 2017 All-In Truck Series champion.
All right, as the Truck Series wraps up the regular season, congrats to those 10 drivers that advanced to the playoffs. And since the Truck Series has an off week next week, we've got a little bit of fun and something different coming your way, both on the track and off the track here with the Integrity Racing Show. So, Jacob, let everybody know what's happening next Tuesday night during the off week for the Truck Series.
Yeah, so what we're going to do, we're going to have a fun race at Eldora in the trucks. It'll probably be a 75-lap event. We'll do a couple stage segments, if you will, just to kind of keep things interesting. We'll host probably start at 7:30, which is a normal truck time. That starts, have a half-hour practice, and then jump right into the race. Very simple stuff, no frills type deal. And we'll have that event and just have some fun. There's no points involved. There's no money. There's no extracurricular stuff. Just have some fun with the trucks at Eldora. And then after that, we'll have the Integrity Racing Show. And a little different for this week. We did this last year. We'll have a Q&A. It'll just be me and Todd up here. And you'll have the opportunity to ask me questions, whether it's about one of the series, the leagues as a whole, questions about rules or things we might be doing next year. If you want to have personal questions about me, want to get to know me more, all of those are pretty much on the table, as long as they're not too out of bounds. And we're pretty lenient on what out of bounds is. So if you happen to go out of bounds, you're trying to. But like I said, wide range of topics. I want to answer your questions. I want you to, maybe suggest things, and I can respond to them and on the fly. I won't know the questions in advance. If you have questions, send them in to Todd, either through a PM on Facebook or iRacing. Either one will do. And obviously, for those of you who are familiar with the show, we have a live chat that goes on. If you want to post questions on the live chat, we can read those off as we go along and do it that way as well. But preferably, if you have questions you want to submit that you want to get answered about, like I said, one of the 2 series, the league as a whole, rules, any of that stuff, just submit them to Todd. And we did this last year. It was a lot of fun. And like I said, I answered pretty much anything and everything. And it should be fun to do again this year. I want to be as transparent and an open book as possible, and hope to do that next week with the Q&A session.
All right, so that wraps up our look back at what happened. So now let's look forward to the week that will be coming up here in the Integrity Racing League. Again, Tuesday night will be the fun night for the Truck Series and the Integrity Racing Show. But the Cup Series is back to serious stuff and back to a real track, as Kyle Busch would say. The Cup Series goes to Michigan International Speedway. So let's look back and see what happened at Michigan last year in the fall race. And Michael Dole got his, I believe, his only win in the Cup Series last year. So Michael Dole won the fall race at Michigan. Adam de Blasio finished second. Tyler Herr finished third. And Todd Thomas finished fourth. So what used to be 2 to Green Motorsports with a 1-4 finish there. Pretty strong run for the team that night. I remember we were able to stack up in front of Andrew and kind of, I'm going to own up to it. I think he knows it happened. We blocked pretty hard to keep him off a duel there in the final laps on the final restart. So it was a fun race at Michigan last year in the fall. Hopefully we'll have another fun race. Jacob, what are you looking for as we go to Michigan this coming Monday night?
I think Michigan's always a fun race. I know last year, earlier in the year, it's our second time there now. I think we had a good spread through different lanes and different ways to get runs coming through the corners, and it was generally some good racing. I had a couple more cautions than I really probably wanted to see at Michigan, if I remember correctly, but hopefully we'll clean that up. We've had some good racing over the last couple weeks. save for the Watkins Glen race that obviously wasn't any cautions anyway. But beyond that, we have had good racing. And hopefully we can continue that into Michigan. And I think, everybody enjoys racing at Michigan for the most part, unless you're Todd and he hates everything. And but I do expect a good race, and it should be a lot of fun to get back out on track and race an oval.
All right, so that's going to wrap up another edition of the Integrity Racing Show. It went a lot better than it did last week, so you got to give us that much. Big victory for us here on the production side of the show.
We set a low bar.
We really did. As a reminder to anybody that's maybe watching this live, we're going to do kind of an informal sling mud for fun right after the show. Hop in the Integrity Racing League team speak, do a little dirt racing in the mud, just have a little bit of fun. It was a lot of fun last night. We're going to do it again tonight. So thanks to those of you that watch live, and thanks to those of you that will watch us recorded later on. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back here next Tuesday night for the question and answer show. Again, thanks for joining us, and have a great night, everybody.